We're getting ready to do a show here.
Because no matter what, no matter where, you need the truth. And specifically, if you're listening from Newport Richey to St. Petersburg or from Tampa to the coast, you can get the answer on FM 93.7, always on AM 860, online at theanswertampa.com, and depending on where you are, on FM 93.7.
You've been hearing about it. Now it's here. IDC Spectacular Store-Wide Spring Sale, Friday through Sunday. You save up to 20% store-wide. Plus, take advantage of up to 3 years zero-interest financing. You know when International Diamond Center has a sale, it's the real deal. And this is the big one. Designers are here with their entire collections. Rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, and yes, thousands of engagement ring mountings. I mean, you can't miss this. Up to 20% savings store-wide, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only at International Diamond Center in Tampa, Clearwater, and Lakeland on approved credit.
The following program is sponsored by Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic.
Odyssey. Here is your exclusive AccuWeather forecast.
Enjoy partly sunny skies today, high 89. Clear skies tonight, low 70. It'll be mostly sunny tomorrow. Monday's high also 89. Clear tomorrow night, low 72. Mostly sunny Tuesday, high 88. Tuesday night, mostly cloudy, low 71. And Wednesday, sunny to partly cloudy with a high of 87. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Sally Sherman for AM 860. The Answer.
And I'm on. This is Dr. Bill, your radio MD. I got Ken with me today, and we're doing a show, baby. We're doing a show.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, buddy. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. You're sounding good.
Yep, I had a case of the COVID, so after 4 shots and 2.5 years of being in the front line, I caught it. Ooh.
But at least you had the shots. How many? You've had 4 doses now, right?
4 doses, and I don't know why, but YouTube kicked me off. They said that I violated their COVID rules and regulations. So
how?
I don't know. I didn't contradict anything the CDC said. They said the CDC and World Health Organizations, you can't contradict what they say. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm leading them. I'm not contradicting them. But I haven't had time to appeal it, but I'll think about that. I don't think there's many people that look at this on YouTube. Maybe 1 or 2 people a week. You can get this on Facebook. You can get it on, I think, on Twitch and on drbillradiomd.com if you want to see my pretty face live.
And it is such a pretty face.
It is. And by the way, I took the new Paxlovid, Paxlovid. I think I talked about that before on the show. That's 2 antiviral agents. One is nirmatrelvir, and ritonavir. And the first one is the one that actually is an anti-COVID antiviral agent, and then the ritonavir is an old-time AIDS antiviral agent that apparently keeps the body from breaking down the first one. So, and it showed an 89% decrease in hospitalization or death from all causes compared to placebo in the research. And that was in older people, and I would guess older people are 65 and up, or high-risk people, people who have lung disease, people who smoke cigarettes. You don't know anybody like that, do you?
No. Hey, I'm
And-
cutting back.
You're good. Keep doing it. And
I'm
so,
trying.
the Paxlovid is being underutilized, and I did not realize it's free. It's free. The government's still paying for it. So if you do come down with a case and you're in the elderly age group, or if you have high risk, give us a call at 727-384-6411. We'll do a telemedicine visit and get you started on the appropriate antiviral, antibiotics, and supportive medications. But I guess it helped, Ken. I mean, I'm better. I feel pretty good. I still got a little runny nose, but my throat feels fine now. So who knew?
Was it? Do you know what variant you had?
No, but I'm sure it was the Omicron because it was so mild.
Yeah, was it AB? You think? Whichever one's going around now.
The
I've lost
BA2.
track.
I don't know if the BA2 is taken hold yet. I know in Europe it has, but I'm not sure about Florida. So I'll have to check on that. I'll get back to you next week.
Well, where it has taken hold, they say that hospitalizations and deaths are holding steady. They're not climbing, so that's good news.
That's good news. But now Shanghai, they're having chaos there. I mean, they're fencing people in their homes. They're putting up green chain link fences around the front of their homes and their businesses to keep them in. And everybody has to go and get tested every other day. They have these huge lines. I mean, this is the biggest city in China, and basically they're shutting it down. I don't know if this is a good policy or not. The Chinese claim that they haven't had many deaths relative to the other big countries like India and the United States, but you don't know because
I don't believe that at all. No.
the statistics, who's going to actually, first of all, I doubt that they can keep accurate statistics. Secondly, even if they do, I'm not sure the Communist Party is going to admit that they've made any mistakes. So
I've been reading a bit that it turns out that their version of the vaccine wasn't as good as they thought it was. Or
no, it's not. It's a killed or an attenuated, not an attenuated, but an inactivated. Killed, inactivated. You can't say killed with a virus because they're not really alive. It's inactivated so that it can't cause disease, but the idea is that you inject this inactivated viral serum into someone and it'll stimulate an immune response to the spike protein. But it's only about 50% accurate, 50% effective, and that's even with 2 doses now. So, but what are you going to do?
That's part of their problem over there, I think. Yeah.
Well, they don't have the ability to produce the PCR vaccines like we do.
They haven't stole that yet?
Well, first of all, they would have to develop their own technology to do it, and Pfizer and Moderna said, well, yeah, we'll be happy to share it with them if they want to pay us. And, our government, originally when Biden and his gang got in, they're like, you should share this with the world. Well, first of all, you have to have the ability to manufacture this, to produce it, to distribute it. You have to have the sub-zero freezers, and all these things are not readily available outside of the highly developed countries like the United States and some of the Western European countries, Ken. That just doesn't exist, and it's ridiculous to think that we can just hand something out. I mean, first of all, who's going to get it there? Who's going to train them how to do it? And you're talking about hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in infrastructure just to get it up and going. Let them develop their own damn vaccine if they don't want to pay for it. You know what I mean?
I'm with you 100% there, Doc.
I mean, what are you going to do? They don't work for free. We pay for everything we get from them. You know what I mean?
Actually, it was the American taxpayer who kind of paid for the development of this, didn't they?
Yeah, of
So we're not
course.
going to give it to them for free.
No, It was the Western countries that chipped in, $1 billion or $2 billion or $500 million to build up the fund to help develop these mRNA vaccines that Pfizer and COVID have, which are the most effective vaccines and the safest too. All right, enough of that. I survived, and while I was off, here's the story, Ken. You'll love this. So Sunday last week, I was sounding kind of crummy, and Monday morning, the women in the office grabbed me and swabbed my nose, and ran the test on our machine, our PCR machine. And so I'm on the phone doing a telemedicine visit, and my nurse hands me the results. And she's got on a mask and a face shield and everything. And so the wife sends me down for the week, so I was grounded. I was at home. And all the neighbors are, putting, hexes on me and stay away, stay away. At any rate, so I started on the Paxlovid and on the antibiotic and whatever else she told me to take. And I actually got a lot of things done. I put a grab rail bar in my bathtub, one of those stainless steel bars. I changed out a toilet tank kit. I worked on my new car, cleaned it up. I mean, I stayed busy, got caught up on paperwork, did a little bicycling, and of course she got upset with that. She's like, You're supposed to be
resting, right?
You're supposed to be sick. And she says, I'm getting it now. I'm going to be home next week, and you stay at the office. So, she faked a cough and a runny nose for a few days. That didn't work. I didn't buy that. So, if I don't know if it's the same with your wife, but if I'm sick, she's sick.
Usually, yeah.
Usually they have to keep up with us.
Well, I took care of you. Now you take care of me. That's a marriage, I guess.
Yeah, that's marriage. That's subatomic physics right there. So at any rate,
I'm glad you're well. You sound
Yeah,
much better this week. So.
I made it, and I didn't think I was going to get it because I went 2.5 years in the front lines and never had a sniffle. But you never know. I mean, this is a strange virus, and of course, as you age, your immune system also ages, so you don't make antibodies as rapidly. You don't make as much antibody, and the levels fall quicker. So that's a really good reason to get that booster shot. And I'm going to take a 5th one at the beginning of the summer here. Give myself 6-8 weeks to get over this, and then I'll take one.
It's been about 3 months since I had my 3rd, so I'll probably get a 4th at some point.
Yeah, they say now they're down to 4 months is what they're saying now to get a 4th dose. So I'm telling my patients, and by the way, you're one of them, to come in and get a shot. And
I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
So
you got to feel
get your shot, get it from the doctor.
Yeah, and you got to feel bad for those people in Shanghai. I mean, they're yelling and screaming, and they're fighting. They're not fighting physically with the police, but they're, some of them are yelling and saying, "Hey, you can't lock us in. We're not animals." And so the police are taking their little fences and going to the next house to see if they can get away with it there. Oh well, what are you going to do?
I don't know. I feel sorry for them, but that's the system of government you chose, or haven't overthrown.
Yeah, they haven't overthrown it. They didn't choose it. They didn't know what they were getting. But I guess they're happier than they were 40, 50 years ago when they were starving. Now, by the way, I've been talking with guys in the lunchroom about the threat of nuclear war with the Russians and Ukrainian situation, and we're always talking about all these nuclear armed submarines that are roaming around, mostly U.S. and Russian. And I was talking with them about these fast attack submarines like the South Dakota, which is one badass submarine. I mean, this is probably the deadliest fast attack submarine on the planet. And this thing doesn't carry any nuclear weapons, Ken. This is a fast-moving door kicker. It's armed with cruise missiles that can go 1,500 miles inland. They're Tomahawks. their conventional weapons. It's got torpedoes. It's got all kinds of electronics. And what they do is if there is a land invasion, they can come up and fire and then go back down, and so they're relatively safe compared to like this rocket launching ship that was sunk over in the Sea of Azov by the Ukrainians. You remember that last week?
Sure.
And so this thing can come up, unload, and go back down. But even better than that, it can follow the bigger nuclear Russian submarines around, can tail them, and given the word, it can blow them out of the water before they can launch. So I feel pretty good.
It's a sub-killer then. Okay, that's great.
It's a hunter-killer, yeah. And it's got the ability to deploy SEAL teams from the rear of the vessel so they can come up to certain levels and send a SEAL team out underwater. I guess they can do all kinds of damage if they want.
It's all very cool stuff, Doc.
Very cool, very cool. So, I don't want to see a nuclear war.
Oh, I don't think even Putin's crazy enough to do that.
And then
I have been reading he's thinking about taking over some other countries after Ukraine.
Well, the foreign minister from Finland, or the diplomat from Finland who's over here, he said he didn't think Putin was crazy enough to do that, and that traditionally the Russians had respected the NATO boundaries, I guess more out of fear than love, but that's okay. We'll take fear over love if that's what it takes.
It works. That's right.
Yeah, it works, and the Chinese and the Russians have both been launching missiles and new weaponry and all this the past week or two to try to say to the United States and NATO, hey, we're not afraid of you. Yeah, you are. Yeah. If you were not afraid of us, you wouldn't be doing that. You wouldn't be sending up little firecrackers to say, look, see what we can do? We already know what you can do. We probably helped develop it.
Probably did.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's crazy enough to go nuclear. Not yet, anyway. Nowhere near it.
No.
We would have to be on Russian soil with tanks, I think, before he would even consider you doing anything nuclear. And then it would just be a tactical nuke right there to get rid of the tanks. I don't think he'd shoot a ballistic missile to the New York or anything like that.
No, I don't think so. I mean, that would be the end of Russia.
Well, that would be the end of everything.
No, it wouldn't be the end of everybody. We'll survive a nuclear war.
You think so?
Oh yeah. Listen, if life survived the 65 million year ago asteroid impact that wiped out 95% of all species on Earth, including the dinosaurs, we'll survive this. I mean, that was probably 1,000 times the energy of all nuclear weapons on the planet put together. So,
all right. Well, let's not try and let's not find out.
No, we don't want to try it out, but we do want to make sure that the Russians understand, and the Chinese, that we are not going to be submitted. We will not submit to them, and they're not going to intimidate us either. And we'll do what we have to do.
And a lot of this stuff that they do, China and North Korea and Russia, it's all for internal consumption. They do it to show their own people, look at what we can do. I'm in charge. Everything's good.
Well, that's
not
true.
Not necessarily for us. It's a lot for their own citizens.
And speaking of North Korea now, Moon, the South Korean president who's on his way out, who's a left-wing loony, and Yoon, who's coming in, the new president, who's a conservative guy, Moon is playing kissy face with Kim Jong-un before he leaves to cause Yoon problems when he comes in and make his job harder, because Yoon's saying, you know what, I'm not going to play kissy face with North Korea. In fact, he wants to get closer to Japan. Now, you've got to remember, the Koreans still have a bitter taste in their mouth about the Japanese occupation in the first half of the 20th century of the Korean Peninsula. As you recall, they pretty much used them like stepchildren and although they're the same bloodline, and actually Koreans fought in the Japanese army. And my father-in-law, my wife's father, he was educated in Japan. He spoke Japanese fluently. And so if you were a brighter kid in Korea, you could go to Japan and go to one of the better universities there, because the Koreans didn't have the same infrastructure at that time. So at any rate, they used the, supposedly, this is what the women say, they used the Korean women as comfort women for the soldiers.
Okay.
And I'm sure that nobody got paid for those services. That was probably all free. But at any rate, the bottom line is that the Koreans still have a bad taste in their mouth, especially the women. My wife still hates the Japanese. But
that's holding a grudge.
Yeah, and at some point you got to forgive and forget. That's what Buddha and Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, no one
said.
here was happy about Pearl Harbor, but you got to move on.
You got to move on, and we've made up with Japan. And when I was a kid, there were a lot of people who were bitter about us helping the Japanese out. They wanted to see us go in and just destroy the whole country, because they had been taken prisoner during the war, World War II, by the Japanese and severely mistreated. But you got to move on. At any rate, so Yoon is snuggling up, or he's going to snuggle up with the Japanese, and he says, "Look, frankly, it's in our best strategic interest, so we're not going to have any strategic alliance with North Korea. That's not going to happen. South Korea has to think of its own survival and preservation, and the best way to do that is to get closer to Japan and the United States and Australia and the other allies in the area that are opposed to North Korea and China and Russia taking over the world and telling everybody how to live." So I think that we've got a good guy coming in South Korea, but he's got some headaches that are being fomented by the outgoing president.
So we can expect to see more missiles launched in North Korea just to flex their muscles and say, "Look what we can do," to try to scare the new guy.
Well, yeah. But you realize that South Korea has ballistic missiles. I mean, they don't advertise it like the North Koreans do. And although we don't say it and they don't say it, I would be willing to bet that we have some nuclears, if not on the peninsula, certainly right offshore in submarines. And the South Koreans actually have a submarine that they can launch a missile from now. So they're way ahead of the North Koreans. They just don't talk about it.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. They should.
Yeah, they should, and I think it's important that that South Korea and Japan kiss and make up, and realize that they have a highly strategic interest there. That the threat of a takeover of the Pacific Basin there by the Chinese and their sometimes allies, the Russians and North Koreans, is not a good thing for anybody. Not for anybody.
Yeah, the Philippines and Japan and South Korea, they should all be arm in arm.
Yep. And we're upset with Vietnam because they have been friendly to Russia during this Ukrainian thing. But that's the Chinese, the Vietnamese Communist government. No, the people are not. They're all pro-America. They all want to come over here and hang out. But they're still under the thumb of a totalitarian regime. And as the Australian Prime Minister said, if you think that living under Chinese totalitarianism is a good thing and it's going to help you, you better think twice. Totalitarian governments don't work very well, as we can see from the slow progress that has evolved in China and Russia, and they're both still behind us, even though China has a huge economy. Well, they've got, 3 or 4 times the numbers of people we do. But, I mean, look at Russia. It's almost 200 million people, and they're not even in the top 10 economically. I mean, they're just a backward third world country with first world weaponry. Well, not even first world anymore.
Yeah, we've seen just how bad that army is. I am still surprised at just how bad the Russians are at fighting.
I'm not. And did you see where the Ukrainians blew up a command post, and they claim to have gotten several generals and dozens of high-ranking officers in one fell swoop. Now, that to me is very telling. That to me is very telling. These people are just about as dumb as they were and before World War II. But what are you going to do?
Well, no need to be as afraid of them as we have been, I think, over the years.
Well, I told you the story. My friend who went over there on a exchange, summer exchange. He went to Russia, and that was late '60s, early '70s. I can't remember when. And he said, "Bill, I'm not worried about these people. They don't even have zippers yet. They still have buttons on their pants. They did not have zippers. They did not have zippers. There's no roads. And once you get out of the big cities, it's really kind of sad."
Well, all the leaders sack the taxes. They take all the money.
Yeah, the oligarchs are swimming in dough, and meanwhile, the common guy is struggling to make a living. That's probably true in most totalitarian regimes.
I was reading last night that they're losing oligarchs. They're apparently committing suicide at an incredible rate. Like 7 or 8 of them in the past couple of months. I don't think they're suicides, but they're staged as suicides.
Yeah, I'm sure that they said, hey, Vladimir, you think we ought to not do this? Yeah, right. Here, take this pill.
Well, yeah. They've been killing, or allegedly, the suicidal Gulagarg would kill his family first and then kill himself. So they've had like 3 or 4 in the past just couple of weeks where oligarchs have been found dead with their entire families in the house found dead.
Well, the Russians are good at that. That's one
area they excel in.
Yeah, they've got that down pat. I mean, they did that to the Tsar and his family. And remember in 1917?
Yep.
And of course, the Tsars did that to their enemies. It seems to be a long history of killing the opposition. Now, which I
can understand why Putin is a little nervous.
Any oligarch that belches wrong should be killed, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's why a lot of them are sitting on their boats out in the South Pacific somewhere right now.
So now the Solomon Islands, which are the Solomons, are about 500 miles off the coast of Australia, off the northeastern coast near the Great Barrier Reef. You might not have heard of the Great Barrier Reef, but that's in northern Australia, which is actually the tropical part of Australia. That's what's closest to the equator. Just the opposite here, because we're in the northern hemisphere and they're in the southern hemisphere. So the Solomon Islands, that's where our first major assault against the Japanese started in World War II. It's right near New Guinea, right off the coast of New Guinea, and right near Australia, and of course New Zealand's nearby. Well, the Solomons have been in our camp, in Australia's camp, since after World War II. We actually built their parliament building, Ken. The United States donated the money for their parliament building. Now, it's not a huge structure. It doesn't look like it's a miracle of architecture, but it's pretty cool looking. It's smaller, and it looks kind of like some of the traditional huts that the Polynesians used, but it's a big concrete building. Anyway,
so why are they cozying up to the Chinese now?
Well, I think, feel that they're going to get some economic benefit from it, and they may be playing the Australians too, because the Australians have pretty much had them under their wing since World War II, and the Australians are warning them and saying, look, you're making a deal with the devil, and there'll be consequences to this. And we are also cautioning them that there'll be a price to pay, that we will, and of course we're sending aid over there, I'm sure, that we will rethink our aid and our assistance to them if they do that. This is not a highly developed country. I mean, these are people that are grossly undereducated, although they're getting more and more of their people to go to grammar school so they can read and write. They don't have any roads to speak of. They have no train system. They do have a fairly decent ferry system, because it's hundreds of islands that make up the Solomon Nation, and they have some some various ethnicities, but it's mostly Aboriginal from Australia and Polynesian and some Chinese and other mishmash in there. Interestingly, they are the only country outside of Europe and the United States, the Western countries, that have kids that are genetically blonde. They're genetically blonde. So you have these kids that are really look Polynesian. I mean, the usual Polynesian faces and the dark skin, and they have blonde hair. And they did some genetic testing on them over the past decade or two because they wondered if this was European blood mixed in. And apparently there is some genetic phenomena. I think it's in the tyrosine line of the amino acids, and the kids are blonde. It's pretty cool.
Not bad. Yeah, sure. Blondes have more fun. So
They do.
that's what they tell me anyway. You know what else is fun, Doc?
What's that?
Winning a mug.
Let's do it.
It is time to give away 2 Dr. Bill, your Radio MD mugs. And it's simple. Be the first caller to answer this question, and you will win. Question always deals with something that happened in the first part of the show. So we're going to go back to the beginning of the show. And Doc said he was feeling under the weather last week. What was Doc... what was the ailment? What was giving Doc problems last week? If you know, give us a call right now. First caller at 877-969-8600. That's 877-969-8600. What had Doc under the weather last week? First caller wins, 877-969-8600. And you feel like a coffee break, Doc?
Yeah, but first I got to say that because I was sick, I didn't get the mugs out to our winner last week, and I'll take care of that first thing this week, okay?
Very good.
All right, buddy.
Double duty this week, then. So
Let's
give us a
go.
call if you know the answer, and we're going to be back.
Let's grab a coffee break here, buddy. I'm Dr. Bill. I'll be right back.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. Ukraine's leader is petitioning for more powerful Western weapons as he prepares to meet with top U.S. officials in the war-torn country's capital. President Volodymyr Zelensky announced the planned visit today by Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. The White House hasn't commented. Zelensky says he expects the Americans to bring specific weapon and security guarantees. Volunteers and workers in Shanghai have erected metal barriers in multiple districts to block off small streets and entrances to apartment complexes as China hardens its strict zero-COVID approaches in its largest city. On social media, people posted videos of the new barriers, with some expressing anger over those measures. And Orrin Hatch, who became the longest-serving Republican senator in history and a fixture in Utah politics, has passed away at the age of 88. This is SRN News.
Dr. Bill for Bay Area Medical, located at 6399 38th Avenue North in St. Pete, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. Full-service clinic with x-ray, heart imaging, ultrasound, stress testing, and minor surgery. We provide quality health care in a warm and friendly atmosphere. We are multilingual, well-trained, and certified. Most American insurance and new patients accepted. Bay Area Medical, home of can care, 727-384-6411. 727-384-6411. Dr. Bill here. With social distancing and sheltering in place, telemedicine is here. Bay Area Medical Home of Can Care Clinic offers telemedicine for new and established patients. You can see me without an in-office visit. Schedule an appointment at 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. When it's time for your appointment, type this web address into your cell phone or computer web browser, doxy.me/Bay Area Med. A cell phone works well and is all you really need. For computers, you need a web camera and speakers. We'll give you this address when you call for your appointment. We accept most insurances and travel insurances. Canadians and visitors, please call your travel insurance company for an authorization number prior to the visit. Copays and deductibles apply. Self-pay rates are available. Just ask. We accept credit cards, PayPal, and Stripe. 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. Dr. Bill here. My friends at St. Pete MRI and Sleep Diagnostics are your best choice for state-of-the-art MRI, CT, and sleep studies. Quality unsurpassed. 25 years experience makes St. Pete MRI my go-to imaging center. Self-pay rates are competitive and out-of-pocket cost a fraction of a hospital. Conveniently accessible from both sides of the bay at 750 94th Avenue North, St. Pete, near the Gandy. 727-577-2220, 727-577-2220.
They're breaking all the rules at International Diamond Center this weekend with the biggest store-wide sale of the year. Friday through Sunday, up to 20% off all rings, bands, bracelets, earrings, and fashion jewelry. Plus, up to 3 years, zero-interest financing. And only at International Diamond Center. Unapproved credit.
Hi, friends. This is Katie Pavlich from townhall.com. The liberal media and big tech are working overtime to promote the left's anti-American agenda to silence me and the reporters on our team at Town Hall. We must bring the truth to the American people, free from the spin of big media and the censorship of big tech companies. Town Hall covers the news that matters, exposing the COVID lies, the leftist rot and crime surge in our cities, the illegal alien crisis at our southern border, and all of Joe Biden's unconstitutional overreach, including the critical race theory attacks on our children and grandchildren by school boards working with the Department of Justice. Visit townhall.com each morning, afternoon, and night for the truth as my team investigates the Biden administration, their big media friends, and leftist activists. With your support, we can keep holding government bureaucrats and their allies in the media accountable. Visit townhall.com today to join the fight. The fight for our nation starts with townhall.com.
So just how smart is your smartphone? Add a couple of dozen IQ points to your digital friend by downloading the AM860 app. Local news, national headlines, and incisive commentary. Turning your smartphone into a genius. The AM860 app is the answer. AM860, The Answer. Online at theanswertampa.com. Odyssey. Here is your exclusive AccuWeather forecast.
Enjoy partly sunny skies today, high 89. Clear skies tonight, low 70. It'll be mostly sunny tomorrow. Monday's high also 89. Clear tomorrow night, low 72. Mostly sunny Tuesday, high 88. Tuesday night, mostly cloudy, low 71. And Wednesday, sunny to partly cloudy with a high of 87. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Sally Sherman for AM 860. The Answer.
And we're back. Ken, you there? Ken? Are you there, buddy?
I am. There I am. Okay, now we're good.
I thought we were going to have music the rest of the show. I kind of liked it, though.
It was a little different.
I was jamming there, buddy.
I was getting a name here. We have a name of our winner.
Who we got?
We have Roger Young from St. Pete. Third week in a row, we have a St. Pete winner. Roger Young from St. Pete knew that Doc was down with what, Doc?
Down with the COVIDs, baby.
He had the
Down with the
that's right,
COVIDs.
exactly. So, if
Well,
you're all
Roger,
better now.
Thanks for listening. And, oh, hey, Ken, when you send me Roger, send me the person from last week, too, so that I get them both out, if you don't mind.
Sure, I will do. I've got that here. And Roger, you're getting two Dr. Bill, your Radio MD mugs. That's two Dr. Bill, your Radio MD mugs coming your way, Roger. Enjoy that cup of coffee with the doc.
And a shout out from Dr. Bill and Ken.
And if you want to get into the discussion today, by the way, it's the same phone number, 877-969-8600. You're more than welcome to join us for the talks that we have here every Sunday.
Absolutely. Keep it to the point and pithy and interesting, and try to sound like you know what you're talking about.
Right, never stopped me.
So, France is going to the polls today. They've got, excuse me.
Oh, that's right. It's a big election.
Yeah, the Marine and Macron are going head-to-head. Now, Macron, I guess he tried to pick up some points this week. He announced that he's going to supply Milan anti-tank missiles and Caesar self-propelled howitzers to the Ukraine. So I think the anti-tank missiles are probably similar to what they're already getting from the United States and Great Britain and other countries. But these self-propelled howitzers, that's a little bit of a step up there. So, you know, those are rockets that you fire, and they also are shells that you fire, and they also have propellant in them so they can go further. And
I think like 150 miles, and if I'm wrong, I'm sure Captain will be on the phone in any minute now telling me.
Oh, he probably will be, yeah.
I think it's about 150 miles max for a howitzer.
Wow. That's a good distance. So you can pick off some tanks. I don't know how I don't know what kind of guidance system it has, but it probably has something that can help steer that thing.
Proximity fuses and all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least the French are chipping in, you know. That's a good thing. Now, Marine, she doesn't want to be involved with NATO as much, and she doesn't want to be involved with the war with the Ukraine and all that. She's more of a isolationist and a right-winger. But I think Macron's going to probably pull it out, and I think that this is one of the ways that he'll do it, by offering to help the Ukrainians, so he'll look good to his people, his constituents. And I'm sure there are a lot of conservatives in France who don't want to see the Russians take over the Ukraine. I'm sure there are people who still have memories of the world wars, in their collective memory, since they were in the center of both world wars, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Boy, they were right in the middle of it, yeah.
And, you know, the First World War was fought mostly on their territory. So
that's true. The trenches are pretty much in France and, Belgium and places like that.
Yep, France and Belgium, they were the front lines. So we'll see what happens with Macron and see if he can pull it out. And, you know, I took a look at Radio Free Europe. I did not realize how active it still is. And they had a good article on weapons of last resort, how the Soviet Union developed the world's most powerful bomb, apparently 100 megaton. The thing looks like it'd be hell to get off the ground. It weighed, I don't know how much. It was a pretty heavy piece of equipment. At that time, they didn't have a plane big enough to haul it up, so they had to actually make a plane that was big enough to handle it. And it was developed under Nikita Khrushchev and then Andrei Sakharov, who I believe defected to the United States eventually. He was the Oppenheimer of the Soviet nuclear program, and he's credited with being the guy that helped develop it. And then the pilot that dropped it was Andrei Darnovs. I can't pronounce it. We'll just call him Andrei. So he dropped the bomb on October 30th, 1961, 100 megatons. And
I've seen the film of that explosion. That was impressive.
It's interesting. It's interesting. And I've just never realized that they had developed such a huge bomb. What are you going to do with it?
Well, it's a city killer, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's probably a county killer.
Maybe a state, yeah.
could get a good chunk of the state. And I think it was a hydrogen bomb, when the hydrogens are different than the atomic bombs. You know, they're deuterium and tritium, which are the heavier hydrogen molecules or atoms that are forced together by a conventional fusion reaction. So what you do is you take these hydrogen molecules, which are basically one proton and one electron, and you stick a neutron in there, or you get these things, heavy water from the environment, and you can that's deuterium and tritium. Deuterium 2 particles inside the nucleus, and tritium 3 particles, and then when you force these things together, you get helium, and a tremendous amount of energy is released. That's the fusion reaction. That's what everybody wants to work on, to see if they can tame that to create endless energy, so to speak. But this bomb was huge, man. It's the size of a small plane.
Well, it's probably miniatured. It probably brought that back down to size now. So.
It weighed 25 tons, and it was about the same size as 10 large SUVs. So,
wow,
it was a big boy.
Yeah, well, had a big bang.
It had a big bang. Meanwhile, Elon Musk is helping the Ukrainians, and I guess he sent. Not only did he position more of his Starlink satellites over that area, but he also sent apps and free service to the Ukrainians, supposedly free, but I think quietly the United States is probably paying him money to boot that stuff up.
And that's what they're using to communicate. Because Russia has cut off their normal internet.
Oh yeah, but they can't.
And this has got to be frustrating the heck out of the Russians.
Yeah, I don't think Putin likes Musk.
In fact, they tried to shut him down with a cyber attack, and his company blew it off in like a day. They fixed it up and no problems.
He's a character. Some of the things
he's going to buy the world, I think. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, he's come up with the $46.5 billion in debt and equity to finance his purchase of Twitter, and we'll see what happens now. The question is, will Twitter take a poison pill? And a poison pill is when you pump out more stock shares and dilute the value of the stock, thus diluting the value of the stock that he would buy, and he'd have to buy more, and so on and so forth. But the problem is that the stockholders can then sue the company, Twitter. The Twitter stockholders can sue Twitter, saying that they're diluting their value, and that's not in the best interest. They're ignoring their fiduciary responsibility to make money for the stockholders. So it's going to be a big legal morass for a while. We'll see what happens.
And all Elon wants to do is make Twitter what it used to be, just an open, free, express yourself forum.
And the left-wing loonies are saying, "Oh my God, the oligarchs are going to take over Twitter because Elon Musk is an oligarch, and the freedom of speech will be gone." Hell, it is gone. There's no freedom of speech in this country right now.
Well, certainly not on Twitter.
Not on Twitter. Now on Fox News and Dr. Bill's show there is, but those are actually very special venues, and you're not going to have that on all venues. And by the way, as I told you, YouTube shut me down because they said I violated their COVID vaccine policies, which is of course not true. I guess they have algorithms that look at that and say, "Hey, this guy's talking about the vaccine, you better shut him down." But I don't know, Ken.
I can't think of anything we've said on this show that would cause them to shut you down.
Nothing.
No.
But we'll see what happens. So the senior level U.S. delegation met with the Solomon Islands leader on Friday. I was talking about the Solomon Islands earlier, and warned them that Washington would have significant concerns and respond accordingly to any steps to establish a permanent Chinese military presence in the Pacific nation. That's from Reuters. You might have heard of Reuters. That's a news agency.
Yeah, I guess the Chinese want to put a naval base there.
I think we should put one in Hong Kong. Do you think they'd mind?
I think they might have a little problem with that.
So
I just think we should keep a bunch of submarines right offshore.
Well, I'm sure that
let them know they're there.
I'm sure that we have some within striking distance, and
always, yeah, they're always there.
You got to remember, when one of our big nuclear subs goes to sea, you're talking about the 5th or 6th largest nuclear power on Earth. I mean, they have these multiple reentry, the MIRVs, multiple reentry warheads. So one missile can disperse, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 nuclear weapons that also have their own guidance system.
They probably have about 10 missiles apiece, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's beyond belief, the power that we have. And but we don't flaunt it because we don't have to. When you got the fastest car on the road, you don't have to go fast.
It's the reason. I remember back, I guess it was in the 50s, Russia, and they still have these parades where they, parade all their missiles down Main Street or whatever during whatever holiday they're celebrating. And we were becoming quite concerned about the number of missiles we were seeing until we got some spy satellites up there and some U-2 flights flying over Russia, and they were just like going around the block.
Yeah, they were circling them around. And One of my friends who grew up in Moscow, he went to those parades. Some of the things he tells me, I can't say it on radio, but it's fascinating how primitive the country was, and I guess in many ways still is. It's just unbelievable. One of my friends who came from Poland before the wall fell down, he said two things just really stunned him when he got to the United States. He said you could get a gallon of ice cream for $1. Of course, ice cream in Poland was probably a rarity, and you probably paid $10 if you could even find it. And he was just amazed at how large-breasted the American women were, because where our diet was so much fattier, we were all basically bigger and more developed in every aspect. I think he
typical guy.
Yeah, but I think his comment was really prescient, because he was saying we couldn't believe the affluence compared to Poland under the Russians, under the Soviet Empire. And that's what my friend who grew up in Moscow said too. He said, if there was if a line had formed at a store, people didn't even want to know what was being sold. They just got in the line. They got in the line, Ken, because they figured, well, hell, there's something there. Whatever it is, we need it. Yeah. Whatever it is, we need it, and let's just hope we got in line before it runs out. So it's
just so much nicer here in the USA, no matter what we've got going, no matter what internal problems we may have. People still want to come here.
I know, but can't we at least get Joe to Can we get the Easter Bunny to take Joe back in the White House?
Maybe Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny together can convince him.
I saw Trump poking fun at him. Trump he's a stitch. He said, yes, he's taking direction from the Easter Bunny. Did you see that?
Yeah, I know.
At the egg roll,
pulling him away from the cameras.
Yeah. Come on now, Joe. Let's go back inside and get some more medication.
I got a basket of chocolate for you inside, Joe.
I got a chocolate and another anti-dementia pill for you. So.
All right. Well, a couple more years. Get to November. Concentrate on November right now, and then we'll worry about 24.
Yeah, we got to concentrate on November. Let's hope that the Republicans don't screw it up before the election and start saying and doing stupid things. All they have to do is just keep hammering the Democrats and don't say or do anything else.
Yeah, McConnell, I think, Mitch has got the right idea. Just keep hammering away with inflation and all that. And, and the Republicans will fill up the House for sure, and probably the Senate as well. They'll probably take the Senate back.
Yeah, speaking of Republicans, did you see where Orrin Hatch died, the longtime Republican senator? I think he was the longest-serving Republican senator.
I hadn't heard that yet. I'm sorry to hear that, yeah.
Yeah, he died, yesterday, I believe. He was 88 years old, and apparently greatly loved by both sides of the aisle, one of these peacemaker guys. But at any rate, he died. And speaking of that area out there, did you hear that Lake Mead, the lake that was formed by the Hoover Dam, is drying up?
Is what?
Drying up. It's shrinking. From decreased water in the Colorado River, decreased flow, and from increased demand for water from towns and industries out in Nevada and Las Vegas area, because that's where it's close to. And so all that area out there is just booming. It's like Florida. It's growing like crazy.
Yeah, but they really don't have the water for it.
Well, they're going to have to start drilling or something. But, the Colorado River is not a huge river. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you been to the Grand Canyon?
I have not been to the Grand Canyon. I've flown over it, but never been to it. Yeah.
Well, I think you should go. It's only going to last another 50 million years, so you better get out there before.
You better hurry up, huh?
You better hurry up. But the Grand Canyon was cut by the Colorado River, and the Colorado River flows through the southwest, and I think it dumps into the Gulf.
Does it go to Rio Grande?
No, it doesn't go to the Rio Grande. It dumps into the Gulf that's formed by Mexico and the Baja Peninsula. What's that called? The Gulf of Baja or something?
Yeah, I think it's the Gulf of Baja, as a matter of fact, yeah.
That's where it empties into. So that poor little river is getting beat up pretty bad because there's a great demand for the water from there. And of course, all of that starts up in the mountains in the Rockies, and so we have to pray for more snow next year so that my son can ski and there can be more water in the Colorado River. That's important.
Yeah, by the time you get past Las Vegas and Phoenix, there's not a whole lot left.
No,
in that
there's
river.
not. There's not much left. It's more of a stream than anything. But it's fascinating to see. It's a pretty little river. And I say little because I grew up on the Ohio, which is, as you know, one of the big three, Mississippi, Missouri, and the Ohio. Those are our three big rivers in the United States. Although I guess the Columbia, when it gets close to the ocean, is pretty good size, too.
I think the Missouri River is a pretty good size as well, yeah. But, they shoot the rapids on the Colorado. It's a fun river. I know that. A lot of sportsmen love it.
Yep, it is, and it's certainly a valuable asset and natural resource, and so we'll have to think of some way to defend that and take care of that. But I'm not in that field, so I'll have to stick to medicine and hope that bigger brains than mine are on this. But I don't know how much of this, of course, is hysteria from the green people, and how much is reality, how much of it is just seasonal. But there were some pretty striking pictures. I've been on the lake. We spent a little time out there, and it's a nice lake. I mean, it's not like our lakes here in the east where you've got all these pine forest and hardwood forest around, and beautiful scenery. It's mostly rock and outcroppings of granite, and but it's still a nice recreational facility for the area, and it looks like a lot of the marinas are gone. The lake has shrunk so much that the marinas that were built on the shores are now, a quarter of a mile away from the lake itself, and boats are moored out in the middle of the lake because there's nowhere to tie up on shore.
Yeah, you can actually, if you look at a picture of it now, you'll see where it was, because it stained the rocks when it was underwater, and you can actually see how much it's fallen, and it's impressive. It's an impressive fall.
And Ken, it's going to affect the production of electricity as well, because the Colorado River is what drives the Hoover Dam, drives all those big turbines. So they've got some problems out there that they're going to have to address. But they do have a football team now in Las Vegas.
And that's all that really counts in
life. And that's all that really counts.
Football and baseball.
And ice hockey.
Ice hockey, too. And basketball. Sure, why not?
Absolutely. And, we're getting close to the end of the party here, buddy. So I wanted to tell everybody thank you for being with us today, and thank you for your thoughts and prayers while I was sick, for those of you who knew I was sick. And I really wasn't that sick, but don't tell the wife. Just tell her he sounded like death. And call me at the office. We're available, 727-384-6411. 727-384-6411. We've got
about 30 seconds left, Doc. So
we got telemedicine, we've got vaccine, we've got rapid testing, we've got cardiology, general medicine, we've got the little Korean. We've got it all right there, or right here.
Give that phone number one more time.
727-384-6411. This is Dr. Bill, your Radio MD. I'm going to sign off now, Ken. You're on your own, buddy.
Thank you, Doc. We'll see you next week.
Sunday morning at 9 for more insight, information, provocation, and fun. Dr. Bill Handelman practices in St. Petersburg, Florida at Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic, 6399 38th Avenue North. For your convenience, telemedicine appointments are available. Call his office today at 727-384-6411. That's 727-384-6411. Or visit his website at cancareclinic.com. News, insight, passion. FM 93.7, AM 860, W229DJ, WGUL, Dunedin. The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. The Supreme Court will hear arguments tomorrow in a case of a Christian football coach who lost his job for praying with students.
The Bremerton School District near Seattle refused to let high school coach Joe Kennedy pray at midfield with students immediately after football games. Kennedy's First Amendment case lost at every turn, including at the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. However, Supreme Court Justices Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh called the Ninth Circuit's reasoning troubling, and the High Court is now set to hear the case. Greg Clugston, Seattle.
The Russian military has struck a Ukrainian explosives factory today, several artillery depots, and hundreds of other targets. The defense ministry says the army used precision-guided missiles in the attack. This is